When do you pivot in business? Do you pivot only when you're stuck, or only when you have one route to go? Or do you pivot when things are going well? How about when you're getting started? You never really learn about when to pivot in life and in business. And this is one of the most important elements that you need to learn. Learn to pivot. Watch this. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome back to our channel. My name's Antonio Valdivinos with the Leadership Vault. If you are new to me and this channel, this is a place for entrepreneurs and content creators looking to build your brand, build your business. We talk all things courses, programs, and being successful. So make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notifications so that you don't miss out. All right, we got a good one today. We're going to be talking about when to pivot in life and in business. To pivot or not to pivot? Or should you pivot? When should you pivot if you do need to pivot? Now, when I say pivot, what does that mean? I used to play basketball, a lot of basketball, and pivoting is not bad. Neither is it good. When you pivot in basketball, you are doing many different things, or a few things. You are either avoiding something that is running at you, or you might do a trick move. You might need to pass that ball. You might need to, take a shot. You pivot and you take that shot. You might even evaluate your situation. Where am I? What move should I make? Who should I pass it to? So there's all sorts of pivots that you might be doing in basketball. But what about in business? There's usually 3 pivots that are important to consider. Number 1, if you're just starting, you're in the launch pivot. You might work the 9 to 5 and you know that you need to pivot. You want to pivot, but it's all about timing. You know what you're doing, you know where you're going, but when is the best time? So that's really the question. When is the best time to pivot? Now, if you're wanting to pivot right here, right now, I want you to consider a couple things like this. Number 1, you want to have at least 6 months of revenue that's coming in. Number 2, you want that revenue that's coming in that's consistent with what you're already making in that 9 to 5 or a little bit more. And it's consistent, it's coming in, you're not so scared, so you're ready to make that move, you're ready to make that change. That's a really good time to pivot into doing what you want to do and where you're going. Because if it's already consistent and making you that revenue that you're needing to replace, then imagine what you can do with your time fully invested just doing one thing. It's gonna grow. 2, if you're already in business, you want to grow it. That's the growth pivot. Now, there might be some skills or processes that you need to know and learn to pivot so that you can grow it. Now, this might need someone that you might need to hire for you so that you can focus more on your strengths. I might even think about getting a coach or a mentor that can really help me grow. Now, I recommend getting a coach in the first pivot when you're just starting out so that you don't waste a lot of time and put in the wrong things to help you. So I recommend it in pivot 1 and in pivot 2, of course. So on the third pivot, that third pivot, you're wanting to scale. That's the scale pivot. Your business has been going well. You really wanted to grow to the next level. You wanted to go really big. That's the scale pivot because you kind of want to do less, but you still wanted to grow. That might be the right people that you want to hire and also the right systems. Now, this requires 3 things. You need systems, softwares, and staff. Those 3 pivots are crucial. Just to summarize again, when you're in business, you have the launch pivot, the growth pivot, and the scale pivot. Have you ever thought about this? Hey guys, so glad that you're here. I have something for you. If you're wanting to learn and know all the plays for creating courses and starting your own online business, I got you. I made a free ebook that you're going to want. And I wish I had this when I first began. I want to give you the play-by-play on how to get started online. You're going to learn 8 plays: excavate, allocate, validate, elevate, encapsulate, activate, formulate, and elaborate. These are the 8 plays that will make you successful, I guarantee it. All you have to do is run the play. It's free. So click the link below and I want you to grab it. It's fully yours and it's free. So let's get back to the rest of the episode. Thanks for watching. And if you like the content, do me a favor, subscribe and like. Have you ever thought about this? When you're starting out in business, it takes perseverance. It takes determination. It takes to be tenacious and relentless. You believe in something that necessitates that you push through the obstacles and the challenges and the dips and so on. Many different things that come at you when you're running a business. And even when you're starting out, you're in a big learning curve. And so you need that character to persevere, and sometimes you don't feel it, and you have obstacles and you have emotional challenges, all sorts of things coming at you. And so you need that perseverance to keep on going and to push through. But what about when things are going well? When things are humming? You kind of learn to balance things out a bit. Maybe you balance out your time. Maybe you balance out the attention that you're giving or your drive. You've already seen a little bit of success. And so do you pivot at these time periods when things are going well? That is a big question. If you study the life of Cornelius Vanderbilt, his nickname was the Commodore. He was one of the richest men in America and one of the richest men in history. At age 16, he started his own ferry business. He started off making his wealth by running and operating a steamboat and also a shipping business. And he did well. But he did a pivot that changed his life. He went into railroads in 1864. And that's a totally different mode of transportation. He was in the sea, and all of a sudden now he's a railroad guy. Now, why am I saying this? Because it's easy to pivot when things are not going well. You seem to have a challenge and you might be at a crossroads, or worse, you're at a dead end. Vanderbilt saw society changing a trend into a different mode of transportation. He saw that everything was going into the railroads. When he started in the boats and the ships, they were the transportation that was best way to travel. Even during the gold rush, he would transport people from the East Coast to the West Coast, even through Central America. But there was a lot of things that he had to consider. What if this is the wrong move to make? There's a lot of companies that did not pivot when things are going well. Blockbuster did not transition into the era of online streaming, for example. They were taken out of business, but Blockbuster at its peak was employing over 84,000 people worldwide and had 9,000 stores all across North America. And in 2000, Netflix approached Blockbuster with an offer to sell their company to Blockbuster. So Netflix offered it to Blockbuster for $50 million. By 2004, Blockbuster, 4 years later, was out of business. Blockbuster looked at that offer and thought, this is such a small niche, and they declined it. They did not pivot, and within a few years, like I said, lost their business entirely. Closed doors. Now, I could share many other stories like Blockbuster. What about Sears, who was booming? They were booming at one point. They were the powerhouse with the Sears catalog. They had so many businesses across the country, and now they're just empty warehouses. They did not pivot. Neither did Pan Am or Compaq Computers or Border Books and many other businesses like it. They're not around anymore. They don't exist. So please heed what I'm going to say next. I want you to learn. So if you're taking down notes, I highly recommend it. There are 3 things that are always working in our lives that will help us in our lives and also in business. You have hindsight that gives you insight, that gives you foresight. You're carrying around hindsight from lessons that you learned from the past. Now, hindsight is no good if it doesn't give you insight. So what you have is past, present, and future. It's always working. You have hindsight, insight, and foresight. Your past is not the greatest educator alone. Have you ever heard that statement that history is your great teacher? It's not. Only evaluated experience will teach you what you need for the future. That's where insight comes in and will help you make decisions for your future and for your needed pivots. You learn from mistakes, from failures, from errors. You get insight and you acquire foresight. Now, the second point that I want to talk to you about is this. When you're considering to pivot in life or in business, and they often go together, there's an important principle that you need to learn. The principle is reasons come first, answers come second. We often want to know the whole story. We want the whole picture before we even pivot. But we often have the deep desire that give us the choice to pivot. And that principle comes in really handy. Reasons come first, answers come second. And this is not fear-based, this is faith-based and hope-based. It's really, why do I want to pivot? Why do I want to make that move? Will it help me? It's really the most important part for you to figure out. And it's really based on one big thing, the reason, the why. The vision. It's the vision that is most important. Because if you have your vision correct, it will give purpose to your struggle. But you have to know, what is my vision? Because if I have my vision right, if I'm building a business, if Blockbuster would have considered their business properly, they would have go, well, we're in the service industry of serving people with, video entertainment. So it would have been an appropriate, change or addition to their company to add streaming to their business, and they would have skyrocketed because they would have had this type of movies to, for people to go down the street in the corners to rent, or they could have done the streaming and had the membership site for renewal members. So they could have done the streaming and they could have had the corner lot, but they didn't do that. They forgot to pivot. So that's where the history lessons of the past, like Cornelius Vanderbilt, comes in. You want to learn from those types of people so that you can learn to pivot, but also you need to learn your vision. Where am I going? What am I doing? What's my purpose? Because then that, like I said, the struggle has purpose and the challenges have purpose. Then you can accomplish anything. So then you can be stretched if you're learning something and starting. What's my purpose? What's my vision? What am I going to create? And you can be stretched, you can be pulled, you can try new things. Again, reasons come first, answers come second, because most of the time you don't know if totally this is gonna work. If Blockbuster would have looked at it, they didn't know if it was gonna totally work, but there was some success already. So reasons come first, answers come second. So as you're considering different pivots in your life, what matters most is your vision, the vision of where you're going, what you're gonna be serving with people with. That is the most important. That's how you're gonna learn to pivot properly. And most people, they're just simply not succeeding. And if you want to be exceptional, if you want to be excellent, if you want to be the exception and not the rule, so what stops people from succeeding? Most people don't live their lives of their dreams. You know that. I know that. Most people in the US, for example, are not fit. They're not healthy. They aren't in the relationship that, there's love and passion for sustained decades. Most people are not earning what they want to earn. And if that's true, it kind of sounds depressing. I know that most people are not succeeding. So how can I be the exception? How can you be the exception? People should not be making excuses. People who talk and also act. Those who act is where success comes from. It has nothing to do with resources. Resources are never the problem. When we don't have resources, we become resourceful. We try and we try again. Those are the ones that succeed. So when you're pivoting to start something, you might not have all the resources, but that's when you become resourceful. Or you might even be thinking about, I want to pivot and I want to get a coach, but I just don't have all the resources. Well, find a way. Be resourceful. I remember talking to a close friend of mine who had just started her business. She was in it for a couple years, and all of a sudden she was given an opportunity to be a part of a mastermind. Now that mastermind cost $30,000. And she was like, oh man, I just started this business. Now, in her second year, she was already making $260,000. So she did fairly well, but she had this opportunity to invest $30,000. And, she had team members, she had overhead. So she really didn't have the funds to be a part of this mastermind. And she went into that mastermind, she paid that investment. And what happened was her business exponentially grew. She went from $260,000 that year, and she did invest that 30 grand. And all of a sudden her business on her third year, she made over $1 million. See, she had that vision of where she wanted to go, and she had that pivot opportunity, and she took it. She didn't even have the resources, but she became resourceful. So opportunities might come around us to make a decision or to help us to grow our business, to start our business, or to scale our business. And you want to consider, man, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? Because that's my leading force that's going to help me make that decision, but also the right timing to make that pivot. You want to pivot here for you to succeed. That didn't work. or you pivot here, or that, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna change this a little bit here, I'm gonna try that again. There are so many things that can happen for you to be successful. So listen, I'm gonna just be kind of a downer for a second, because a lot of businesses do not succeed. In the first year, 50% of businesses are gone. After 5 years, 80% of businesses are no longer here. After 10 years, 96% of businesses fail. I'm gonna tell you another story. This is important. After 2 failed attempts, Milton Hershey created one of the most profitable and well-known chocolate companies in the world. And I love this story. I've read about it, I've watched documentaries about it. It's a story about determination and challenges and vision and focus. And even through bankruptcies, when that happened for him, he kept on going. Chocolate was known as a snack for the rich, and it wasn't common for the common person. And he made one of the most successful companies in the world, and it's still working and doing so well even today. And guess what? He not only pivoted to get started many times, he also started out making caramel candies. And then he went at the height of his success. His candy company of caramel candies was doing really well. And then he pivoted into chocolate after learning about it at the World's Fair one of the years. And then he went all in. We're gonna be a chocolate company. He hired the right people, he created the right systems, and in fact, he created a whole city around it. So it's an amazing story, and you can learn about pivoting from Hershey. He did the pivot at the right timing, and he kept on going with determination, and he had the right vision. Here's the question: are you willing to make the necessary pivot by discovering new business models like the online space? Or are you wanting to get started? Wherever you are, we can even help you. Book a call with us, book a call with our team. We'd love to find out where you're at. If you're in the pivot of just starting, we'd love to help. If you're in the pivot of wanting to grow, we'd love to help. If you're wanting to learn how to scale your business, we'd love to help. So book a call. We'd love to find out where you're at and see how we can help you as well. Just, look in the description below and let's see how we can get started to help you out. We can help you get unstuck. All right. So here's the bottom line. We all have pivots to make in life and in business. And I hope this content was helpful. If you like the content, do me a favor, hit the subscribe and the like. And until your next pivot, I'll see you at the top.